So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining me on the planet. My name is June Allen. I'm a racial trauma therapist and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So, hi everyone. I hope your week is going well. And I'm just adjusting everything. I hope that your week is going well. Hi, Ashley. Lovely to see you. So I am going to be talking about money trauma today. I'm going to be talking about the characteristics of money trauma. Okay. So yesterday somebody dropped some comments and stuff in my Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining. Somebody dropped something in the comments about what is money trauma. And so I thought it was a really good idea for me to come on and to really have a conversation and just give you some of the characteristics, okay? Just to give you some of the characteristics. So for those of you that are joining that don't know me, okay, so I'm a racial trauma therapist and I've got private practice. I also have a mastermind where we're talking about financial therapy at the moment. From now until right up until the end of the year, I'm going to be working. We're going to be we dive deep every week talking about financial therapy and stuff like that. And the whole concept around money trauma is something that we talk about a lot. As black people, we're in a situation where, we were the first commodities on the stock market. Our black bodies have been sold, were sold for hundreds of years. So that is going to have an impact on our relationship with money. So these are the types of things that I talk about, not just this is not just about the practical things that we need to do about money. It's not just about creating spending plans and all of that kind of stuff. It's also about understanding our history. Okay, when we talk about our ancestors that were enslaved, it's also about understanding your relationship to money in terms of what happened within your family of origin. What did you see your parents do around money? What are your core beliefs around money? A lot of people talk about mindset and all this kind of stuff, but there's trauma and grief work that needs to be done around our money. Okay, as black people, there's a lot of stuff for us to think about in terms of money. So we talk about family of origin stuff. How did you experience your money in your family? Was it talked about? Was it rude to talk about money? A lot of people say that it's rude to talk about money. um how did you see your parents spend? Did they overspend? Were they stingy? All that kind of stuff. And then you also look at your own money behaviors. What does that actually look like? Are you scared of money? Do you embrace it? Do you, just really unpacking how you feel about money. Okay. So these are the types of things that I talk about in my mastermind. And I've also got a workshop that is happening on the 15th of July. Okay, it's a half day retreat. It's not a workshop, it's a half day retreat. It's two workshops. Okay, in the morning, we're going to be talking about the art. It's called the workshop is called the art of receiving. Okay, so you're going to learn more about what does it mean to receive? What are the blocks that stop you receiving what you deserve? We're going to be talking about shame. Okay, we're going to be talking about, all of those difficult things, lots of difficult things for you to explore around what are the blocks around you receiving. Why do you find it hard to receive? Okay, why do you as a black woman find it so hard to receive, and what can you do about it? In the afternoon, the second workshop that we're going to be doing is going to be more specifically around money. So we're going to be doing some exercises around money. We're going to talk about receiving energy. What is receiving energy? What does it look like? How do you do it? How do you raise your vibration? All of that good stuff. So, and also because it was my anniversary, my 8-year anniversary of being in business, 13 years of being in recovery. There's also going to be some of the ladies that already work with me, and they're going to be sharing their own stories as well, around, what they've learned, what they've got out of doing this work and all of that kind of stuff. So if you've been thinking about working with me for a while and, you want to have a little bit of a taste about what it would be like to work with me, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. And you will have an opportunity there to come to this workshop. It's in Brixton. Actually, it's not online, it's in Brixton, it's in person, this one. So you'll have an opportunity to just see how I work, and you'll hear from the ladies that are already in my mastermind already, that are already doing this work. So you'll hear from them. Some of them have been with me for quite a long time, going through different things, not just the money work that I've done with them. Some of them have done their own personal work, their own self-love work, all of that good stuff. So, and it's actually quite beautiful thinking about some of their journeys actually. So if you're interested in joining me, then please click the link in the bio and come and join me there. Okay, so let's get into the content. Okay, let's talk about money trauma. So what is it first and foremost? So money trauma is really about the traumatic negative experiences that we may or may not have experienced, okay, as a result of whatever. There could be very, very different reasons. It can be, people losing a lot of money. Maybe you've lost a house, or, you've had your car repossessed, or, for us as black people, our money trauma goes back, it goes back centuries. Okay, it goes back centuries. And so, money trauma, the work that we do around money trauma is really about looking at the impact that your relationship with money, how was the impact of the trauma that you may have experienced, how does that impact how you behave around money? Okay, how would you describe your relationship with money? How do you feel around money? What comes alive in you? What does it trigger in you when you think about money? Do you still, what are your core beliefs around money? Are you one of those people that think that money is the root of all evil? Were you raised in how is your spirituality and money? How is that relationship? Because quite often, being spiritual is often linked with poverty. It's not always linked with being prosperous. So do you have those sorts of core beliefs and stuff like that around money? These are all things that you'd have an opportunity to explore in the workshop that I'm going to be doing on the 15th of July. But I'm going to give you three different types of characteristics, okay, of money trauma, how it actually shows up in people. These are the conversations that I have with clients and stuff like that. These are the three common ways that it shows up, okay? The first one is fear around money, okay? Fear of success, okay? Fear of even looking at their bank account. Some people just find it really, really difficult to even connect with money by looking at their bank account, opening mail. People are so almost like allergic to it. They have so much fear around what it represents. And sometimes people don't know why they behave like that. When I started doing my money work, for a long time, I just couldn't open my mail. I could not open my mail because I was that terrified of what it meant. And what it meant for me, when I started doing my money work and I started unpacking a lot of this stuff, what came up was actually a fear of loss. That somehow if I earned money, then somebody was gonna take it from me. And I can see how that piece is actually, there's a cultural element to that, because if you think about how black people were treated in history in terms of when they had money, when they were prosperous, a lot of black people were murdered for being prosperous. They were murdered. Cities were burnt, places were burnt down. Communities were burnt to the ground. Because back in the day, white folk didn't want black people to be prosperous. They didn't want them to have money. Okay, so that level, that depth of survival, knowing that you need to survive, I have to make sure that I don't look too prosperous, that I don't look too, I don't look too flash or whatever, because somebody's gonna murder me. That level of trauma, that level of pain, that level of suffering, is going to show up somewhere. It's going to get passed down somehow. Because because then being small, keeping yourself small and not having anything is a way of keeping yourself safe. Being invisible becomes a way of you staying safe. A lot of you out there don't always understand why you find it difficult to show up, why you find it difficult to be visible, why you find it difficult to even show up on social media. I have this conversation a lot with business owners, a lot of black business owners that don't want to do social media. They don't want to do social media. They don't want to show their face. They don't want to be vulnerable. Even though I've been doing this work, these live streams and stuff for a long time, I still sometimes get anxious when I do these live streams. I still sometimes get anxious. Because there's something about exposing yourself, and doing these live streams where you have to be confident. You have to be confident in what you're going to be talking about. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to be willing to be vulnerable and kind of make mistakes. as well, because none of my live streams are perfect. I don't have, I don't script. I don't have loads of scripts or anything. I put down 2 or 3 bullet points and I press live. Okay. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this, these 30 days, 30 live streams in 30 days, even though it's part of my anniversary. Okay. My business anniversary on the 1st of June, 8 years doing the Yard of Greatness. I wanted to do these 30 live streams because I wanted to kind of do my reps. I wanted to kind of build that muscle. I wanted to strengthen that muscle. Even though I was doing live streams once a week before that, but I just wanted to see what would happen. Another business coach that I follow challenged her followers to do it. So I thought, you know what? It was a gut thing. My gut was like, no, do it. Just let go of trying to do everything perfectly. Just let go of trying to be perfectionistic about it. Let go of thinking that you have to do everything perfectly and, just press live. Just press live and talk about what you're passionate about. Just press live and answer people's questions. Just press live and talk about what's on your heart. Share your opinions. And that's what, and build a relationship. One of the things that I've learned a lot about doing these live streams every day, and I'm on day, what is it? Day 20, is it day 26 today? One of the things I've learned is that you can build a relationship. It builds a relationship with people. You get to connect with people in a different way. You connect with people in a different way. And that's how you find your people. That's how I found my people. People inbox me. I'm getting to know people. People started working with me because of it. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I like what June talks about. She talks sense. Our values are the same. We've got the same values. I agree with what she's saying. I understand what she's saying. I share a little bit of myself. I share my expertise. I share my experience. People enjoy the live streams. People connect. I sometimes say stuff what people are thinking that they're thinking that they're scared to say out loud. That's another reason why people want to come and work with me, because I say stuff that people don't say it. And I also talk about it from our experience as black women. Yeah, I share my experience as a black woman, not only as a therapist. I share my experience as a black woman. I'm not afraid to say that stuff out loud. And people connect with it. People connect with it. So when normally when people talk about money, okay, people talk about all the practical things. Stop overspending, but get a spending plan, get a budget together, see your accountant, all of that stuff. People talk about all of that. And people sometimes get confused because they're sort of like, well, why these things sound pretty simple? Why is it that I can't do those things? Why do those things feel so difficult for me? Why does it feel like, walking on razor blades, having to open my bank account? Why does it feel like that for me? But people don't always talk about that because they have money shame. They're ashamed of having those feelings. They're ashamed because they don't understand what's happening to them. And money shame is an important part of the black experience when we talk about financial therapy and money, because of our history. Because racism is a shame-based system. It's a shame-based system. It's built to make you feel rubbish about yourself. It's built to make you feel unworthy. So you end up, I can't charge people that. I can't charge that money. Because people are going to think X, Y, and Z. I don't deserve it. People are going to think I'm being stush. People are going to think who do you think you are? People are going to think that I've abandoned my community if I charge that price. So you end up sabotaging your own success because of your own unworthiness, because of the shame that you feel about living in this black body. Society tells you that your black body is not worth shit. Okay? Society tells you that your black body ain't worth nothing. So you internalize that, and then you tell yourself, well, I I can't do that to myself. I can't give myself that. I can't pay that money. I can't, if you're a business owner, I can't charge that amount because I don't deserve it. Because society tells me that I'm not worth anything. I'm a black, and I'm also a woman. Two reasons why society says you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be charging that. And a lot of us don't understand that there's trauma around a lot of that. Being in poverty, okay? Our community has been in poverty. My ancestors that were enslaved on the plantations in Jamaica had poverty trauma for 240 years, working for free. Okay, when you've experienced poverty, you know, obviously what they're experiencing on the plantation is one thing, but there's another level of poverty, obviously, that a lot of us have experienced as well growing up. Not getting our basic needs met, having to fight with people about housing and healthcare, and then let's not even go there about all the racism and whatever that you experience with the housing and the healthcare and all the rest of it. That is going to create poverty trauma, deprivation. So all of that, when you internalize all of that, when you think about all of those things, it creates a core feeling, a core wound that you don't deserve anything. And that part of you that is sacred, is underneath all of that rubble. It's underneath all of that rubble. That sacred self, you know, then your money, this is where capitalism comes in as well, actually. Because capitalism has used black people as well as mules to make money. Okay? For a lot of us as black women on the plantation, our babies were sold. We were sold and our babies were sold as objects for money, for greed. The reason why the UK is so rich, okay, is because my ancestors worked on the plantations for free. Jamaica was one of the most lucrative countries for Britain. This is real talk. Jamaica was one of the most lucrative countries, places for Britain. Yeah, so all of these buildings and all of these ancient things, what they got going here, our ancestors built that shit because we work for free. And let's not remember, like, and I've said this on so many other live streams, when our ancestors left those plantations, none of them went and had any therapy. So you mean to tell me, like, after going through all of that money trauma, that poverty trauma, the chaos and all the rest of it, where do you think all that went? It doesn't just magic into thin air. That stuff gets embedded in how we feel about ourselves. Unless you're doing your own money work, that stuff, that money trauma is going to show up somewhere. So it's going to show up as you avoiding money. Maybe you're scared to look at your bank account. You're scared to open letters. Like I was saying, I was scared to open letters for years. They would just pile up. Then the phone calls start happening. You know, all the debt collection agencies are phoning, you know, and I wouldn't answer my phone. I would not answer the phone because I knew it was a debt collection, but I didn't want to open the mail and I didn't want to answer the phone. Because for me, money is the root of money is evil. Money is chaos. There's a lot of chaos around money. And you have to be able to really think about and look at what is your relationship with money. How do you feel about money? Think about it like a person. That's what I say to my clients. Think about money as a person. When you even say the word money, what comes up for you? What gets activated in your body? Sometimes a lot of us are anxious. We're anxious. Some of us are so anxious around money that when we get it, we can't hold it. Our nervous system can't hold it. So we have to spend it. Our nervous system can't hold it. And again, there might be that historical piece that comes into it. because our people were traumatized around having money, around being wealthy. You know, so they would, a lot of our ancestors were murdered, they burned down the communities and all that sort of stuff. So maybe that our nervous system is still at some level, it's got that in our system. Because if you have, maybe if you have money, it means you're going to be visible, because you're going to have nice things. And visibility is something that can be a huge trigger for us because it's unsafe. If you think about how safe it is for black people to be visible, if black people are on the streets being murdered and harassed by the police and all the rest of it just for having black skin, okay, having nice things and you being able to receive is going to feel unsafe. This is why sometimes, you know, one of the ways that money trauma shows up is that we can't hold nice things. We can't allow ourselves to receive nice things because we think we're going to take it. So we think someone's going to take it because it's linked to a fear of loss. A lot of us find it hard to receive because we don't want to deal with the feel of the loss that happens when we receive something. So if you think about it within the context of relationships as well, many of us find it hard to have relationships or be in relationships because there's always that fear of loss that's linked to being in relationships. So we won't allow ourselves to experience the pleasantry, the pleasantness and the closeness and the safety that comes with being in a healthy relationship, because at the back of your mind there's that part of you, your abandonment trauma, there's that part that's going to be like, it's only a matter of time before that person's going to leave. So our relationship to pleasure, our relationship to receiving, our relationship to having nice things, our relationship to feeling safe, we have to constantly be on high alert all the time, because at the back of your mind, that part is always thinking, that abandonment part is always, it's only a matter of time before you lose that thing. Don't get too happy. Don't get too comfortable. Because there's somebody around the corner who's going to take it. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too nice with that bank account. Don't let the bank account get too big. Because if that bank account gets too big, somebody's going to come and take it. Somebody's going to come and take it. So you hide. You do just enough to keep your head above water. You do just enough to keep your head above water, but not enough to thrive. Because to thrive means that you're going to be visible. To thrive means you have to be vulnerable, and you don't want to do none of that because it's not safe. So the money in financial therapy, the financial therapy work, is doing the nervous system work. It's having those conversations around what happened to me, what happened to you, what happened to you around money. What did you witness in your childhood around money, where your child, your inner child freaks out about money? Who is actually running your money at the moment? Is it your adult self or your child self? Your traumatized child? Who's running your money at the moment? Ask yourself that question. What part of you is dealing with your money? I know for me, it was my inner child. Probably my 9 or 10-year-old, my 10-year-old self was running my money. So the money work is also doing the work so that you can begin to grow up. So you take that responsibility away from, in my case, my 9-10-year-old. That's not her job. It's not her job. You wouldn't give a 9-year-old anything around money. You give her pocket money to go and buy sweets, but you would not allow a 9 or 10-year-old to run your bank account, would you? So you need to think about that within the context of your financial therapy and your money trauma. One of the things that I do as well, as part of the financial therapy work, is to ask your inner child, okay, how much money feels safe? One of the things that I did with mine is I asked my inner child, how much money do you need to feel safe? Okay, so it might be that your prudent reserve, your savings, your little savings account, you know, your little backup account. It might be that your inner child needs you to put 5 grand in there before she feels safe and settled down. But you have to do this stuff consciously. You have to do this stuff consciously, because if you're not doing it consciously, that stuff is just going to run amok. You're going to self-sabotage. You're going to overspend. Overspending is something that a lot of us do it, but we don't understand why we're doing it. And sometimes the money is so chaotic, we get so anxious about it, that we think, do you know what, if I just go and buy another pair of shoes, you know, it won't me feel better. If I go and buy that dress, if I go in the sale, you know, it's cheaper than what you would have paid for it, and you make all these justifications, but ultimately you're trying to self-soothe something. Okay, overspending is not about the money. Overspending is, what is it that's triggered me that I need to soothe myself with overspending? You know, what do I need to do? What is it that's triggering the stuff underneath the overspending? Okay, what is that? What is that bit? What is that part? Because there'll be the part of you, okay? There'll be the part of you that will go and do the action. Okay? Then there'll be another part of you that is experiencing some sort of pain, some sort of suffering. So the relationship between those two inner parts is that, oh, the part of you that's suffering will communicate with the part that's going to go and over, that's really will just go and spend, will go and sabotage. So that's how the relationship is. But if you can really talk to that part that's suffering, that's upset, it's gonna have to be a different conversation. Because the part that's just going to go and overspend and is not responsible, these are all wounded parts. You know, Michelle's saying, yeah, that's me, June. Listen, a lot of people do overspend. You know, Michelle said, I buy shoes and more shoes, but how many can I actually wear? It's madness. It's not about the shoes. It's not about the shoes. Because no amount of shoes is going to really soothe what is actually going on underneath that behaviour. There'll always be another pair of shoes you can buy. There'll always be another pair of shoes. And the shoes that you bought last week, you forgot about those. The shoes that you bought last week, you forgot about those. You're now obsessing about the new ones that Zara brought out or whatever. You're now looking at the new ones that your wounded self is saying, you need to go and buy those shoes. This is why so many black people, this is what I believe, this is why so many people in our community, okay, why we spend so much and why so many things are targeted to our community. Because a lot of us as a community, we overspend, okay, because we're trying to self-soothe. Okay, so many of us as a community, we're in pain. Living under the system of racism means that a lot of us are suffering. Okay, we're suffering. And a lot of us have got low self-esteem because of it, because we've internalized that, you know, that we're not good enough and that we're unworthy and all that kind of stuff. So these you know, this is the thing about how all of these systems of oppression, how they work. We get oppressed. Okay, we get oppressed. We're told that we're not good enough. We're told that we're rubbish. We're told that we're too black. We're too this. We're too that. Our hair is nappy. Da 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 da. We get all that from living under this system. Then the same capitalist system will take the fact that we don't feel good about ourselves and sell us rubbish, saying that if you buy this, you're going to feel better about yourself. Okay, they sell us the fantasy that, okay, well, you know what, you're not white. Okay, whiteness is the standard, but you're not white, but you can buy this and that will make you feel better about not being white. That's how the enmeshment between capitalism and racism combined. Okay, we're living in black bodies. We're living in black bodies. Okay, that are unsafe under this system. Yeah, we're living in black bodies that are unsafe for us to live in under this system. So buying things, consuming to make us feel better about ourselves, that same system is taking the money. That same system is taking the money. And if you're not aware of what of all of this, how this stuff all operates, how it all intertwines, how we you know we're mules for them, and when we earn our own money, we give it back to them because what they're selling, the fantasy is that if we buy what they're selling, then it's going to make us feel better about ourselves. It's going to make us feel better about ourselves by buying the things that we don't really need. So it's really about exploring and understanding what is the pain underneath. How do I really feel about myself? What is that pain that's triggering me to go and spend? Why is it that I think that I need to go and buy that pair of shoes rather than going within? Instead of, here's what it is. It's about going within rather than looking outside. So instead of looking at the pair of shoes, here's what you do. Instead of looking at the pair of shoes, you can recognize that there's a behavior there. I really want to go. I'm obsessing about this pair of shoes. Sometimes you can just get still and go, what's going on? What's going on for me right now? Instead of, okay, I'm finding myself obsessing about this pair of shoes, but let me just go within. Let me get quiet for a minute and go within. What's going on for me that I'm obsessing about these shoes? What am I trying to avoid? What do I think that those shoes are going to give me? And quite often there'll be something there that that's painful for you. There's something there that you're trying to avoid, and quite often it's a pattern that's been going on for a long time. So maybe you don't even, it's something there that maybe you don't even realize yourself that's going on there. And it's only when you start to really get still that you do it, that you can really begin to understand why you do it. And there's no shame. There's no shade. You can take the shoes back. If you can take the shoes back, take them back. Not because you don't deserve them, but because you are worthy without those shoes. You hear me? You take them back, not because you don't deserve those shoes. If you love the shoes, keep them. But if you recognize that those things that you've bought, you're using them to soothe a part of you that's wounded, take that stuff back. Because you are worthy without those things. You are worthy without those things. The overspending is kind of like, it's a quick fix. It becomes compulsive. It's a quick fix. Oh, I'm feeling this type of way, and you know, as long as if I've got a new outfit, then you are worthy without it. You are worthy without those things. You deserve to be seen without those things. You deserve to be heard without those things. Oh, hi, Beverly. Thanks for joining. You are worthy of those things without having to, you know, you don't need those things. It's also about reframing or finding other behaviors, finding other ways of being able to interrupt the cycle between I'm feeling something and I need to buy those shoes. You start to question, what are those shoes going to do for me? What am I holding on to? Why am I suffering? I think sometimes it can be really small things as well. I think sometimes it can be easy to minimize how we're feeling. You know, sometimes I'll go on to social media, and you know, I'll start seeing all this really triggering stuff, black people being hurt, and you know, was it yesterday I went on there and I started seeing all that stuff about this document that's come out in the UK, where I can't remember the ins and outs of it now, but some document, some government document where they're apparently using the N word. And now what the hell? What the hell? This government document, okay, and they're using the N word to describe us to doctors or something like that. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but that's some madness. And these are people that are in positions of power. No, people might say, oh, I'm not. Why are you surprised? Like, I'm not surprised that because at the end of the day, we live under the system of racism. So intellectually, I get it. Okay, I get it from an intellectual perspective, but from an internal perspective, I also have to ask myself the question: what is being activated in me? What is being activated in me when I hear those things? Do I feel like I want to go and buy a pair of shoes? To feel like I'm worthy as a black person, even though the government is referring to our people as the N word or whatever. I can go and buy something to temporarily soothe myself around that. Or I can make the more difficult choice is to actually be vulnerable and talk about it. Be vulnerable and talk about it. I can go to a recovery meeting, or I can go and call one of my fellows, or I can talk to one of my therapist friends, or talk about it in therapy, or journal about it. Cuss out the government in my journal. Listen, my journal is filled with me cussing people out. My journal is filled with having to cuss people out the way they behave. Because I don't want that stuff in my system. I don't want that stuff in my body. I don't want that stuff being transferred in my relationships. I want to be able to know, okay, the reason why I'm suffering and I'm upset is because I'm upset with the government because they're behaving like dickheads. That's when we talk about clean pain and dirty pain. I've talked about that in these last years. That's how you process clean pain. The clean pain is to make the difficult choice and not go and spend money on things that are going to soothe me temporarily, or do make the difficult choice and get my journal out or talk to my therapist or whatever and say I'm feeling vulnerable as a black person. That's the next layer of vulnerability. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling vulnerable as a black person when I hear the government, this thing that's going on in the government. I'm feeling unsafe. It's unsafe for me to be in this black body. That's a conversation that a lot of people are scared to have. A lot of people are scared to have that conversation. I'm feeling vulnerable in this black body. I'm feeling upset about being in this black body. I feel angry about being in this black body. Because black bodies become the target and scapegoat for everyone else's bullshit. Black bodies become the scapegoat for everybody else's bullshit, including our own people. See a black body, okay, I'm just going to throw my nonsense at you. Consciously and unconsciously. So you have to, part of doing this work, the self-care part of doing this work, is learning how to really honour yourself and take care of yourself around this stuff. And really honouring that the money trauma part as well is, not feeling worthy in your body. It's almost like, are people going to give me what I need? Are people going to pay me what I need? Am I going to get a side eye as a black woman because I'm charging this price? That's all money trauma. That's all money trauma. I'm going to share something with you. Even now, I can get anxiety about certain things. When I send an email out, especially if I haven't spoken to the person before, if I send an email out to somebody about something and the person's white, there's always a part of me that kind of thinks, oh, what are they going to think? Because obviously on my email, you can see a little picture, you can see my little black face. Are they going to treat me differently because they see my little black face? And there's always that thing of, especially if it's something that, if there's something that I'm complaining about, I'm in kind of there's one of the software packages that I use with a company, the the software's not working properly. There's a feature that's on it that's not working properly at the moment. So I've emailed them multiple times. There's been loads of stuff going backwards and forth, and I'm getting a bit pissed off now with it, to be fair. I'm getting annoyed with it. Right? I'm getting annoyed with it. But there's still that part of me that thinks, oh, don't be too angry with them. Don't be too upset with them, because they might sort of start thinking that I'm an angry black woman, even though their service is not working. So I still get those thoughts. Am I going to get the right service that I deserve, even though I'm paying them for a service? I'm paying them for a service, but yeah, I'm anxious about, or there's a narrative there's my internal oppressor that's saying, don't get too cocky with them, don't get too vexed with those white folks, because you're a black woman and you need to know your place. But I'm aware of those things. That's the difference. I'm aware of those things, and I can have a narrative. I can start to be curious about my internal oppressor, and I can still stand in what I need to say to these service providers that are not providing the service that they're supposed to. And I'm like, and give myself permission to be annoyed. And so what if I think I'm an angry black woman? I don't care. But it's about really, really thinking about these things, about how it relates to money and how we show up for money. If you work in a corporate environment and you see people around you getting promoted and all the rest of it, and you want to go and ask for your promotion, what comes up in your body when you think about that? What comes up in your body when you think about that? When you think about, if you're a business owner and you think about setting your price, or you're putting your prices down on your website or whatever, or somebody asks you, oh, how much do you charge? What comes up in your body? Does shame come up? Do you sort of dance around it? Do you find it difficult to, doing all of this somatic work around money, trauma? That's the work. Yeah, that's the work. It's important to think about your relationship to money and the somatic aspect of it. What happens in your body when you start thinking about money, when you start talking about money? And there will be stuff that happens that will be a combination of your experience with money in the present, your experience that you experience in your family, and how was the cultural piece that needs to be included in that. How were your ancestors treated? And how we're treated as socially as black women. What does that mean for you? All of that stuff is going to have an impact on your relationship with money. So as black people, we need to start having these conversations, because a lot of black people, we don't want to talk about money. We don't talk about money. We don't want to talk about it. And there's a lot of us being ripped off. There's a lot of us being ripped off by our own people. Let's do the real talk. A lot of us are being ripped off by our own people, and there's something about when I've been ripped off before by black businesses. They say one thing and they don't deliver, and they're gone. Don't see them again. No amends. No, I'm sorry that happened. Gone. And even after that, after they rip people off, they still continue with whatever they're doing so they can rip more people off. Even that in of itself is a trauma response. Even that in of itself is a trauma response, because these people, they have no trust or faith or whatever in their own stuff, that they have to rip other people off. And because black people are vulnerable, and there's always that conversation around, support black businesses or whatever, so people will patronise other businesses and they get ripped off. They rip them off. So Michelle's saying, yes, we are being ripped off, especially if you are a woman living on your own with no man. Facts. Facts, Michelle. And so Beverly's saying, the corporate world learned to be matter of fact about my fees. Took me a long time to recognise my worth, and the surprise when they support my fees. Maybe I still don't believe I'm worth it. Well, this is the thing. The fact that you're even questioning it, you know, ask yourself the question: if you were a white male, obviously you can't imagine what you would like if you were a white male because you're not. But do you think white men would question that your price? They don't question their price. They don't question their price. They just do it. They just do it. And when we see their price, if I look at white man's price, I don't sort of think, oh, we don't deserve it. That's how we've been how it's been indoctrinated. You know, these white men that go out and do all these things, charging all these different prices, no one questions them. But if we do it as black women, we question ourselves, we give each other the side eye, oh, why is she charging that price? She thinks she's too good. Who does she think she is? This is how the money trauma manifests in us as a community. This is how the money trauma manifests in us as a community. Because we feel undeserving. But we don't understand it. We don't understand the history. We don't understand the money trauma. We don't understand why we overspend. We don't understand why we feel ashamed around money. We don't understand why we're clinging on to money. We don't understand why we want to get rid of it. Because we don't understand that it's linked to it's a trauma response. It's a trauma response, a lot of it. That deprivation that we experienced when we were children means that we can't, you know, we've got loads of stuff in our home that don't even work. We've got broken appliances. We've got this, that, and the other. We've got, you know, millions of Tupperware. We've got clutter all over the place. All of that stuff is all a trauma response. We're holding on to stuff because our money trauma, our poverty trauma has set the script that there's no more. There might come a time when there's no more. You don't deserve any more. So you hang on to all of the crumbs and the this and the that, and even though it's broken and you haven't used it since 1975, and it doesn't even bring you joy anymore, but you're clinging on to all these things that don't work. Yes, Beverly, holding. And if you think about it from an energy perspective, you're holding on to all of this stuff. You know, energetically, you have to make space for stuff to come in. You have to make space to be able to receive. You can't receive if you're holding on to old stuff that don't even serve you no more. You can't make space to receive if you're holding on to things that are broken that don't serve you no more. And that's physical and emotional, psychological. You've got to find a way. You've got to find a way to drain the emotional stuff. You've got to take that. You've got to get rid of that stuff. You've got to take it to the charity shop. You've got to throw it in the bin. If it's not beautiful or practical or sentimental, maybe there's sentimental reasons for certain things, it needs to go. Possession consciousness, okay? Possession consciousness is one of the ways that you deal with your money trauma. You start to process your money trauma. You can start to drain all of these emotional things. If you watch those programs about, I'll just finish on this actually. If you watch those programs about hoarding, there's so much stuff on the TV about people hoarding. Can't even open the door in their house. 9 times out of 10, the people do that. They do the hoarding. Okay, there's normally some sort of relationship breakdown. The person's maybe got divorced. Somebody died. There's some sort of huge loss. There's some sort of huge loss with that person. So it's like they're trying to hold on to every little thing. They're holding on to newspapers from years. They can't get rid of it. They're holding on to so much stuff because that loss was so traumatic for them. And it's the same for us. We have our you know, as a people, our relationship with grief, Okay, let's be real. Our relationship with grief is kind of non-existent for a lot of us because we're just told to get on with it. We're always told to get on with it. I don't think I ever saw, whenever I've been to funerals and stuff like that, I don't think I ever saw my parents or my family like really get upset. Or so, even when my grandparents died, I don't remember seeing my parents cry when they lost their family members. So as a child, I didn't really like my relationship with with loss or seeing how they behaved around loss. It just felt disconnected somehow. But I understand there's that cultural piece that comes in. That as black people, we were told that we don't deserve anything. Therefore, our relationships don't mean anything. We're just cattle. So therefore, what are you grieving for? What are you crying for? So all of that grief, that ancestral grief, is going to show up. It's going to show up. Think about your own relationship to loss, family members, relationships, friendships. How do you deal with it? So Michelle saying it's true, Jim. People don't bawl around funerals anymore like before. Exactly, they don't. And I think that says a lot about how disconnected we are as a community. People don't bawl and cry. When I've seen people do it in Africa, they're connected to their grief. They cry and they wail and they do all the whole point of having all the nine night and whatever is people come and they allow themselves just to cry and do all kind of what they need to do. That's what our that's what I see as our ancestors. There's a space for that. But for us as a community now, nobody really cries at funerals. And I know this is something that I've had to work out in therapy. Like there's something about loss and feeling connected to that sort of vulnerability and crying that I've struggled with. Because that's what we've been taught. So when we think about, all of that grief and all of that stuff there that we're holding, how is that going to show up? How is that showing up? Maybe the stuff that we see on social media, this is just a hypothetical thing. Maybe when you see our brothers and sisters, our siblings being harassed, abused on social media, it triggers the part of us. It triggers a part of us that knows about loss. Even though we don't know the person on social media. It triggers the part of us that understands loss. It triggers the anxiety around loss. So you know what? Let me go and buy that pair of shoes. Because I might not be dead, but at least I've got a pair of shoes. I might not have been abused or whatever, but I've got this pair of shoes. So it's understanding. It's really being honest with ourselves about how our pain and our suffering, how does that stuff, how do we deal with all of that? How are we dealing with our stress? How are we dealing with the stress around that? How are we dealing with the loss? How are we dealing with the fact that we're struggling, even in the cost of living crisis? All of this stuff that's going, all of this stuff that's going up and all the rest of it, that can be quite traumatic for people. Not being able to eat, not being able to afford rent and all that sort of stuff. How are people going to manage? These are all things that we need to be talking about because it's stressful. It's stressful. And we need to be talking about this stuff more. We need to, because even though, it might not be an immediate, we might not have an immediate solution to it. We can start by holding each other in community. We can start by holding each other in community. And then we can create a space to have a conversation. Okay, well, what do you need to do? You can go here, maybe go to this website. But we need to start having more honest conversations about money and bringing in that cultural piece that allows us to have an honest conversation about what does money trauma, what does money anxiety mean for me as a black woman, and how is it showing up in my life today? How am I dealing with it? What are my coping mechanisms that I'm using at the moment, and are they working? What's working, what's not? Not from a place of shaming or anything like that, But let's just get real about it, so that we can start to support each other and change the behaviors. Let's talk about those dickhead big black businesses that are taking advantage of black people, and the shame, and there's a deeper wound for me. There's a deeper resentment for me if I get ripped off by another black by another black business, because it feels like your family's kind of stuck a dagger in there. That's how it feels sometimes. Even though obviously they're not family and whatnot, but the community aspect, there's something about being ripped off by another black business that wounds at a deeper level. But we need to have these real talk conversations. We need to have these real talk conversations. If there's stuff that I've shared on this live stream today that's really moved you, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. I've got my Art of Receiving workshop that is happening on the 15th of July. It's in a couple of weeks' time. It's in Brixton. Okay. If you want to work with me one-on-one, okay, to do this financial therapy work, maybe there's some deeper stuff that you want to talk about. Maybe there's stuff that you're ashamed about that you don't want to talk about in the group, and you want to dive in and do the work. I've got spaces in my one-to-one practice where you can start doing this money trauma work. All the links and stuff for you to work with me are in my the link in my bio. Thank you so much for joining me today. Okay, I only came on to share three characteristics of money trauma, and I obviously went off on a tangent, as I often do. But thank you so much for joining me today. It was really good to thank you for taking the time to spend the time with me. And I will speak to you. I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing some meditations actually over the next few days. I've only got another few sessions left. It's been an amazing ride doing these 30 live streams in 30 days. So yeah, I'm going to round it off doing some really nice money meditations and receiving meditations and stuff like that. So if you're available, join me tomorrow. Put your notifications on so that we can begin to have these honest conversations. All right. So I will speak to you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye.